85th birthday party.
I have to ask Francis something really important.
Oh, it's good. Wait till it has to develop. Yeah, it'll get to develop. Yeah. Very good.
Stay together, stay together. Rose. Wait.
Oh, that was a one.
See? Still, you're good old man.
Another 32,000 feet of film.
I mean, just keep it rolling.
Just roll.
Just keep rolling, and I'll walk slowly towards it. Finish. Don't touch it. Leave it alone.
This is my wife. Francis?
You know what he said? As long as it's healthy.
That's a talking camera. That's a talking camera.
This? Yeah. Wait.
Here's the quick story.
Give me your camera.
Here's the quick story.
Yeah, tell me the story. Set it up for me to come stand over there and
You
take
just
it.
have to see that the lights are together, so just press one, just a little bit touch.
Yeah.
Do you want me to
Where do
take
I
a
press to
picture?
take a picture?
Listen, Dina, give me the camera, I'll take it of all of you together.
We're going to substitute faces now, you get them into trouble.
So I need
Mo.
the flash now.
Be nice. Be nice.
I know.
Okay. Len, you want to get in this thing?
Come, Lenny.
Not really, I see Arthur is here.
I smell pretzels.
Me, I love those pretzels.
Get your back straightened out.
Thank you.
No, your daughter did not remember that she knew Spanish.
She had a woman to talk to us.
She knew what?
When we visited you the first time, I remember my own name.
Did I get any on you?
You spoke Spanish.
Damn it.
She knew Spanish.
Auntie Ellie. Auntie Ellie.
Spoke Dutch.
Can I get you just to move in slightly? Thank you.
You were, I remember, you were teaching at that point.
Now, do you want to take the shot?
Like now, did you come there from the upper east side say that again.
We have one too, but I didn't bring it because I thought that's it. I'll be doing nothing but film.
She's following me around. This is my mother was my mother's niece.
Oh, right.
So her mother
How are you enjoying celebrating? I like it.
In the country all over the money. This is an indication. You go into a supermarket. You got to
Yes, Uncle Mo, I'm coming. Anybody want to say something?
Something.
Happy birthday, Irma.
October 29th, 1989.
Okay, very good.
I can tell you stories, Dave. She would be one twice. Ronda was currently being paid.
I met.
The dogs came here.
However, right, if she gets a lawn happy, she can get red dogs. Because, I mean, it's Dallas, it's not New York. But nevertheless, she really wants to continue with this kind of work. It would be so helpful. I mean, this monastery, we're not.
Yeah, no. I got the car here, and I got to pay for parking all month. I don't use it. I take the subway to work here.
Turn around, Dina.
Hope that's You're like, we never thought that. Well, of course it can. We know that. And we all know that you can all over thermostat. You know, I mean, it's not a big deal with a thermostat.
Maybe that's the women think that maybe it's just maybe
Dina's daughter, Ruthie. And Dina has two sons, both of them are probably downstairs.
Yeah, downstairs.
I'm sorry.
Grandma?
God, I could have helped you.
Okay, we're gonna have 1 second. Carol, where are the kids though? Okay, kids.
Please,
Let me get my Does everybody have a Let me get my shirt. And you'll get drunk.
Okay, you better blow it out. We're going to have wax cake.
Whoa, yeah,
I would like to propose a toast.
Hooray!
I would like to propose a toast. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Esther? Esther, you have to listen to yourself being praised.
Okay.
She'll do you a favor.
Nobody could have a mother-in-law more wonderful than Esther.
You only took my words. The same thing. I could. Or a cousin as
Or
well.
a mother. To your health. As Barry said, you only get another big gift on your 90th and small gifts in between. Good.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
To you. Happy, healthy, and many, many more.
Nobody has to watch.
And we look to see everybody here in 15 years.
Grandma, send you the cake.
Okay.
Just put your hand down.
Where is my camera? Ruthie, you got the camera? Did you take
Yes,
it?
yes.
I'll take it.
Beautiful cake.
Okay, well, you're going to read something. This is time to do. Okay.
Esther's going to read something, everybody, so everybody has to listen carefully.
You want to read it?
Oh, you read it.
You read it. What'd you say, Mom?
Okay, go ahead.
What'd you say? Esther's going to read something.
This is something we wrote for Grandma.
Oh, stay here. Stand here.
Louder.
Louder.
Dear Grandma, a poem of love on your birthday. Though you requested no gifts, we had to get you but one, to express our love and thanks each day as it comes. You gave birth to 2 children, once boys, now wise men. Now these men have their own children, 1 lady and 3 gentlemen. This token of joy comes from Arthur and Dina's kids. We all pitched in, we all gave in our bids. Now let's think back, let's reminisce of the day we were born, the day you gave us a kiss. Remember December 9th, 1970 was the year? Your first grandchild was born, and you gave a cheer. Your first grandchild was a girl, Ruthie was her name. When she was born, she was bald. Years later, she grew a long mane. Can you believe what you see? That young girl is now 19. It was just yesterday that she broke your coffee table, remember? Time flies, but that's how it seems. Now Ruthie's in college, learning to be strong and wise. It's a wonder what nowadays $7,000 a year can buy. Your first grandson was born on June 13th, 1973. We all thought and wondered what he would want to be. He played the violin, he traveled far and wide. When he gets in a car, by the rules of the road, we hope he abides. Do you remember helping Josh with those old ABCs? Now Josh is studying for those difficult SATs. Now let's move on. We can stay here no longer. We must talk about Ron, the one whose chocolate has the best offer. The date was November 18th. The year was 1974, a year you thought would be a big bore. But boy, were you wrong. Did you have something coming? Ron was born and ready to tell you that he was really something. He was always very quiet. He rarely uttered a word. His sister always thought that he'd always be a big nerd. Boy, was she wrong. He's now hungrier and stronger. He'll lick your plate clean and then tell you to move over. Now in high school, he has an A average. We all knew that this boy would someday manage. We must now continue, for I hear screams of terror. Here comes Daniel, telling all that he's the one that's better. The Yankee was born on November 6, 1980. Blonde with blue eyes, oh, what a beautiful baby. We spoiled him rotten. He got toys, clothes, and hats. How did we ever wind up with the cat? Now the future president is 9 years old. But I asked you in the White House, do they eat more than bread and water that's cold? Those are your grandkids. There are no more. So after writing this poem, we went to the store. We searched high and low. We looked until we found something which would always remind you that our love for you goes round and round. We got her a pin with two circles. Yeah. Happy birthday, all I love, Ruthie, Ron, and Dan.
Hooray! Hooray! That was great.
Now, where is Dave? Dave left somewhere right here.
Right here.
Have you got the book?
No, I don't know.
I'll get it.
I've been wrong.
Barry,
What do you need?
The book, there's a book where the camera was, you know, on the little
Barry,
shelf
you
there
got
on
it?
the right-hand side.
Okay. Coming up.
Yours to read.
We've been confronted by cameras all this time.
Yes, it's been
So which one was broken?
In a moment.
Can you stand up?
You want me to be higher?
Yes.
Well, one more.
Come on, I feel embarrassed.
I'd be most grateful if most of you who are standing there would be seated, because it's a little disconcerting. There are no chairs. We can hear. I hope so, yeah, thank you. The name of this is A Shtetl in the Bronx. And this is the second public airing of it. The last time it was presented about 2 months ago at Oxford University in England. And it's a play I wrote, a small play, a short one. Take about 15 minutes to read. And it's part of a book of mine that's recently been published. I was a little boy, maybe 8 or 9. My brother and I slept late because there was no school on Jewish holidays. We loved the Jewish holidays except for Yom Kippur. They all lasted 2 days. We observed them not because we were devoutly religious, but we were free from school. Alas, we were not allowed to sleep. My mother charged in from the store to awaken us. This is the mother now speaking, screaming, "You still sleeping? Get up already!" Childish groans from the left. "No, I have to go to the store so Papa can come to dress. You have to go with him to shul. Get up!" No sign of the boys. To my trouble, there's no end. Quick, into the toilet. I'll get a goiter from you. Willie, aged 7, and Martin, aged 9, enter wearing only their old-fashioned underwear, and sleepily walked off to the other side of the stage, presumably to the toilet. "Hurry up, I'll fix your cocoa and I'll butter some rolls. Be quick, Pop'll be here right away." And then the lights dim on the stage, it's clear, and the narrator re-enters and speaks. "Yes, we slept in our underwear. Who ever knew about pajamas?" When the boys had finished their ablutions, when they had finished their breakfast of buttered rolls and cocoa, we never knew of orange juice, but we did occasionally have farina or marmalade. That's cornmeal mush, and delicious with real heavy sweet cream. We'd get it from Mr. Schweid's Corner Grocery. We'd carefully watch him ladle it out, a half a measure for a nickel. Oh, I can tell you about other exotic delicacies, but it's simply a storeroom morning, and we must get to shul at Yush's. The father now enters in a dark blue suit with white piping on his vest. He's freshly shaved, his hair parted in the center, and he smooths and curls his mustache, combed in the style of the Tsar. "That's my father," says the narrator. "Always on the holidays, he was a revelation to me. No longer the workhorse in a grimy pair of overalls. Look at him. He was the most handsome man I ever saw." The two boys enter. The father hands one of them his tallis pouch, and the other a siddur. That's the prayer book. They exit off left. They're off to Yush's, by way of the 3rd Avenue L. I must tell you about Yasha. Like our father, he was one of the Landsleit who came from the same shtetl in Russia. But he had a hardware store in the lower part of the Bronx, the section that was mostly Italian. It was called the Hub. The store was in a tenement that Yasha owned. As his business flourished, he moved his family upstairs into a 5-room apartment from the meager 3 rooms behind the store. He knocked down the walls of the 3 rooms and made one large room, which served as a family kitchen, dining room, and a hangout for the frequent visits of his Landsleit. For them, this place was a little bit of the Heim, the shtetl in the old country. And they came from all over, from Williamsburg and Brownsville and Brooklyn, from the cold water toilet in the whole tenement of the Lower East Side, from the affluent West Side in Harlem, even from Patterson in New Jersey. They came to observe the holiday, and yet once again to share their comradeship at Yush's. They were all members of the same Verein. A handful of them had organized it, and it was more than the usual and numerous burial societies, for it held them together in this new land among strangers. When a landsman needed money for rent, when he had no job and no food in the house, when one in his family was deathly sick and he was in frightened despair, when he needed advice about a new business venture, when he was baffled and frustrated by the intense tempo and demands of the new way of life, and simply needed a few moments of brotherhood, Bruderschaft, encouragement, or only refuge from the unceasing struggle to survive, it was to Yasha he came. When the landsman had trouble with his landlord, Yasha went to court and pleaded for him. When a desperate father called in the middle of the night, where to turn when his consumptive son was hemorrhaging his life away, Yasha would go to him, sit the night through with him, give a comfort out of his own bloodstream. Now the lights go on full on the room, reveal some of the men standing there. There they are, but not all yet. The others will come, and their womenfolk and children will arrive later. That old man with the albino-like white beard and hair, he's Moshe. He's the oldest and prays in shackles there at the window and faces east. At the table reading the Torah is Velvo. Next to him is Abe. Then there is Nathan, who is sneaking a shot of whiskey, and standing apart is Charlie. He's the rich one. One is a butcher, another a carpenter, that one is a house painter, and so on. Ah, but here comes my father and the boys. Others will come soon too, but I don't see Yasha. The father and Willie and Martin come in, and the father says Shalom Aleichem, and there's an ad lib of hellos and Shalom Aleichems all around, and the father says, where's Yasha? Lovo. He's at the hospital with Chaim. Father says, "Hey, Faye, what happened? So talk already." "So give me a chance, as though. Last night, I am younger son. You know, Sammy, he was playing on the fire escape. Cabal, don't tell me, Father says. Yes, he fell off, down 4 flights off the fire escape. We're waiting to hear. Maybe it's America gunner. In our Steppen, who ever heard of fire escapes?" Father turns to Charlie. "You'll pray maybe now for your nephew?" Charlie tries to bury his nose in the prayer book. "Don't you think it's time you behave like a mensch? God will forgive you if you don't pray to him this simple story. Go to the hospital and make up with your brother. He needs you now." Charlie spreads his arms helplessly, hopelessly, as though he's at a loss what to do. He walks over to the table, pours himself a shot of whiskey, and quickly drinks. And the father says, "So that's your answer, huh?" The father busies himself in arranging his talus across his shoulders. Like the others, he does not don a yarmulke, but wears his hat. They all wear hats. During the ensuing dialogue, he approaches the table and reads from the Torah, as do the others, intermittently and in turn. The boys approach Moshe, the 2 small boys. One says, "Moshe, you have a shmek tabak?" Moshe interrupts his prayers, smiles at the boys, and wiggles his fingers reproachfully at them, and conspiratorially places his finger to his lips to indicate silence. He finishes the passages of his prayer, then he draws the boys to a corner where they will not be observed. He fetches out of his tail pocket of his Prince Albert coat a small snuff box. The boys each take a pinch under Moshe's guidance and insert it in their nostrils. They stand quietly, a moment of anticipation. Moshe, pleased with himself, returns to his shuckling and praying. Soon, one at a time, the boys in unison gleefully start to sneeze. The narrator comes back now. 2 more Landslide have come in, ad-lib greetings to one to the other. A problem. The 10th man is missing to form a minion for the celebration of this simple story. You'll simply have to wait. And Velma says, "Where is it written that your 2 boys can't be figured in a minion?" And Father, "Simply because they've not been bar mitzvah. Don't give them ideas before their time." And young boy Martin says, "Why? Why must I wait? I'm a man." And Father says, "Yes, you certainly are. Come, I have something for you. For you and Willie." And Father approaches one of the cupboards and takes out a ritual paper flag, 2 of them, and small candles for them. He hands one apiece to each of the boys and helps them attach the candles to each flag. Then he lights them. The boys, holding the flags aloft, march around the table with these Simchas Torah flags. Charlie approaches Velva. "What hospital is my nephew? Maybe I can telephone there." Velva looks at him. "Lebanon Hospital." "Better you should go there." Charlie exits into the store. 2 more Landslide enter, and there's an ad-lib of hello. They put on their talais. "Aha," says Velva, "now we have a minion. There's Moshe, me, and Charlie, and the others. Shh, it's forbidden to count the living. There will always rules. No wonder the rabbis spend a lifetime studying. Anyhow, we now have a minion. So let's make," Nathan says, "let's make a blessing with a little bit of schnapps. You'd better for that this on the throne." While the men crowd the table and imbibe, the narrator steps forth. And he says, "The Landslide now take turns in reading from the Holy Torah. Each chants his proper portion. Then they circle the table with a frequent visit to the drain board to the east side staple of schnapps. The Itzik Goldberg long-necked bottle that was the Chivas Regal, the Johnny Walker, the Jack Daniels of those golden days. And look, there's my father ready for his moment at the Torah. Like the others, perhaps with an ecstasy heightened by the schnapps, his rich lyric tenor sings of his faith. He's no longer the lowly workhorse in oily, grimy overalls in the store. He's a leader, the voice of a man free from the smells of the ghetto, with a tenuous rescue from the tormenting fears for the survival of his children, with redemption for the woe begotten, with removal from chaos, from confusion, with salvation from all evil. Like a disembodied spirit, he sings of joy in unfailing hope of spiritual peace, of pious exaltation, of cosmic order, rooted in eternal truths from on high. In communion with his God, he is a voice for his sons, for his beloved ones, to his beloved God. The knave says to his father, so Esther, missus? The father says, she'll come later. She had to tend the store this week. On Yom Tov? Shame! The father says, my dear Esther, since when are you such a tzaddik? It's hard enough making a living without you kibitzing about my piety. We do what we can. But on Yom Tov, we keep our store closed on Rosh Hashanah, on Yom Kippur, on the first 2 days of Pesach. My customers are going, the janitors and superintendents in our neighborhood. Thanks to them, we stay alive. But on Yom Tov, stop already with your but on Yom Tov. I'm as good a Jew as you are. We keep a kosher house, my sons go to Ada, and we do what we good deeds in charity. So you're so pious? So tell me, do you put on phylacteries every morning? What do you mean? I got to go to the shop early. My boss, don't say another word. We do what we can. God doesn't expect any more. Charlie returns from the store. He's greeted with by an anxious Velvo. No, talk already. What's the news? The others stop what each is doing and eagerly listen. Charlie, they don't know. They're operating. He's been under the knife for 3 hours. He stifles his weeping. Dave says, at least he's alive. It's going to be all right. We can really celebrate Jim the Stower for real. And Father says, when will we know? Charlie says, I spoke with Yosher. He said he'll phone when they bring the boy down from the operating room. Madam.
Living. Let him sit down.
So remember, narrator says, by now you should know that I am that Willie. Before the service is over today, my father and I will say Kaddish for Martin. He volunteered to fight the Nazis. He died in Guadalcanal. Oh, how I idolized him. The father says, we should now begin. He draws aside the curtain of the sanctuary, and with a prayer opens the maroon drapes and the doors of the ark. He chants the Hakofos. With the others behind him, he sings the Hashonis. He leads the men a joyful march around the table. All the men sing and dance around the table. Willie and Martin return and join the singing and dancing. During these festivities, a woman with a child, and then another with 2 children, each woman a wife of one of the men, enter. The children join Willie and Martin, who obtain flags and candles for each of the newcomer children. When the men sing and dance, the children join. At appropriate times, the women will drink some sacramental wine. One will dunk a piece of sponge cake in it, another a piece of lekker. The Simchas Torah ceremony continues. The father reads aloud the Hebrew portion for the day, while the other men silently move their lips in echo and chuckle as they do. At the conclusion of this portion, the father says, Omein. The others will repeat the Omein. Abe edges alongside the father in preparation to read a portion, and the father, with a fringe from his tallis, points out the starting point in the Torah, and he reads aloud. While so doing, the narrator speaks. In accordance with the ritual, Abe is reading a portion of the prayer. He ends with a Kaddish, a prayer for the dead. The others will soon do the same, with a prayer or a blessing for a wife or a young son or a daughter. All of them still back home in the Haim, in the shtetl in Russia. Or they may pray for a brother lost in the Tsar's army before the revolution, where he was snatched and pressed unwillingly for 25 years' service as a Nikolaevsky soldat. Or for a child who died while waiting to be sent for by the father in the new land. Or for a mother or father, dead or dying. Tears stream down their faces as they sing, as they pray, as they dance. The weeping is quiet, but not hidden, for each shares the other's grief, the other's anguish, and infrequently the other's triumph. As each intones his prayer and blessings, he sings and there is pathos. He sings and there is joy of peace. He sings and there is a bitter deprivation of the diaspora. He sings in longing for those left behind, so far away. The father afterwards calls to the children, which one of you will lead us with the Torah? Where's Martin and Willie? Another boy. They're playing in the store. Velvet says, I'll go get them. He hurries up. And he soon returns with the 2 boys. What do you think these 2 rascals were up to? They were climbing all over the desk. They knocked over some paint cans and made a tell out of the desk. I had to put the phone back in place again. It was buzzing like crazy. Hey, to Charlie. No wonder we couldn't hear the phone if Yasha called trying to get us from the hospital. Charlie says, "Oh, what should I do?" Lobo, "What we told you. You should have gone to the hospital. Your brother needs you." The phone is now heard ringing out from the direction of the store. Charlie rushes out to answer. Nathan leads the others to the drain board where they freely drink of the schnapps, eat of the delicacies on the table, and fraternize. Some of them edge to the door where Charlie has exited in anticipation of his return. "Hey, what's taking him so long?" "I'll go in and find out." Dover says, "If it's bad news, he'll want to be alone." "If it's bad news," Abe says, "he'll need someone." Father says, "Remember, if it's bad news, no one should reproach Charlie." "Hey, why not? He's so rich. He lives in a private house in Patterson. What would it do him any harm if he had helped his brother Chaim with a decent job and a place to live? Did Chaim have to live in a stinking slum, walk up while his brother is so rich? Father says, "Don't put salt in everybody's wounds. Many families have fights. They haven't spoken to each other for 77 years. Nathan, why not? Maybe they couldn't figure out how to divide their grandfather's legacy. Pooh! They came to this country no better than beggars. If it weren't for Yasha, Chaim wouldn't even have a roof over his head. You called Charlie a brother? Fat!" It's a shot. Here he comes. Charlie Allen is silently weeping. The others either drop their hands on the spear or wring their hands over the gold. What's the news? You live. Everyone expresses some joy and some with mazel tovs. So Elvis says, "So why are you crying?" Abe says, "Jews need a reason to cry." Charlie says, "Because he lived. He grew up to be a big pious Jew." Others say, "Amen." Father says, "Yosha and Chaim aren't here. We'll continue the services till they come." And Charlie says, "Well, what is it?" "Nothing. I want to pray." He approaches the open scroll of the Torah. The father lifts it up with his hands. He turns the scroll in upright position and then replaces the Torah on the table. He points out the proper place with the edge of his talus to Charlie, who briefly prays, falters, then lifts his head. "They've amputated his right leg." He weeps. There's consternation among the others. Moshe lifts his voice in prayer. "Blessed be the Lord God, King of the universe. We thank thee for thy wisdom in sparing us this child Sammy." Charlie says, "Sammy will be like a son to me. I'll set aside a fund for him. He will not want for anything." Father says, "It's Simchas Torah. Which one of you boys will lead us?" And Martin succeeds in edging the other boys away. He leads the others with the Torah clutched to his bosom, and they all sing and dance the Hashonis, and the wordless sequel next to it. And the narrator takes over now. He says, "When the leaves have turned bright colors, when the wind out of the west becomes crisp in the mornings, when the dusk comes earlier and the evenings grow chill, I recall. Chaim is gone. My father is gone. Martin never returned from the Pacific. And where the Hasidim sang, danced, prayed, and wept, there are now bulldozed empty lots being prepared for superhighway." Thank you. Do you remember any of it, Esther?
Grandma, he's talking to you. He asked if you remember any of it.
I remember everything that you said there.
Except a little bit of drama that ain't.
The little drama is drama, but I mean everything that you mentioned.
This boy who fell off
Was that the Agnes boy?
the Agnes boy.
I don't remember.
Oh yes, I sure
I remember the
when your
one
mother
that
worked
became a
near
dentist.
very nice. Once a week. David was lovely.
Particularly, they were
Very nice, David.
and they had with a pot.
Sure, you can have a cake.
Esther, I remember old Esther.
Sure. I remember the day.
They put that in. She can even have May. Excuse me.
Bring Stanford with him.
That's not
In his around it, and he put his towels around it.
This old Mr. Lipson.
No, I didn't get your book.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Gary told me about it. I couldn't get it from the bookstores.
Let me order it for you.
Oh, no, I got it. I wrote to Jersey, the publisher. No, I wrote, and I got the book already.
Oh, nice.
I got the book.
Everybody was saying it was in town together, you know. Oh, New York City's a big city, but because everybody that went to the area, they had to
Take it this way. So I wrote to Jersey.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
How many and not drinking these last forever?
The truth is, I Carol and shows.
I'd love to get it. I let my husband take care of it.
I don't remember anyone that she remembers who didn't get it.
I don't remember.
You wouldn't. There was
Who
no
didn't
boy
get
that was
it?
imitated. The boy died later. The boy
Sure, I remember her. They had Bessie Agnes and Maxie Agnes.
That was the dentist, right? Wasn't Heshy the dentist?
Beyond, I don't remember. I guess I was too young.
Do you have any? I'd love to get a copy. Do you have any more?
Did you eat that whole piece?
Did you?
Oh,
he did.
I had a little corner of it over my
I'm going to get Jack, did you
no.
what's scarier is not even as bad. So, I'm on my brain, you know, there's
doing medical articles now or yourself?
I was writing for longevity.
Still doing that?
I'm not going to get it to talk.
You do use your
Well, they had been until I decided. Hopefully they'll use me like that.
Okay. Lois, feel better? You look like you should, but you part
I just got tired of writing up. That was a big job. Science.
I did engineering.
Just some bored. This is so much fun. I have to pee.
No, wait. Yeah. No. He's right.
I just want to buy it. 78 one.
Not that one, so like on Friday.
Say something to Esther.
Happy
birthday, Esther! We have you more. At least 15, maybe 20, 30. Keep going.
Esther, you'll be at your 90th, but I probably won't.
I don't want them in my picture. Oh, come on, what are you doing? Don't waste the film. He's eating. Quick, lock up the food. Lock up the food. Put all the food away.
I'll say something to your mother.
Where's my mother? She's not here. I'm happy to be here on Esther's 85th birthday. I hope to be here on the 100th. If my wife will let me live that long. And I hope to see Bill here if he will follow my advice about thrifty, frugal living. Did you get my letter?
Esther's 90th birthday.
Yes, I am.
Hi, Howard. What happened to
Okay, I'm gonna get my chair to Mom.
Oh, just a minute. Put the glasses over here. And the glasses really rule the picture. They really moved the pictures of the sofa.
People hugging other people. See babies stood around the room.
Oh, that's a nice picture. Don't get in the picture, move away. Oh, Daniel, move away from there.
You look just like gently come. You gently come. My hair, just gently. I'm gonna hold you up.
No, it is. It's very cute. But it's hi, kids. Hi. Hi.
It's like their parents. It's really amazing how they're just like their parents. Yeah, there we go. Are you eavesdropping?
First, 100% outside?
100% outside.
Okay. Esther, don't look at it. Jeff, really don't look at
What do you think of this plan?
Gee, you sure know how to have your spaghetti.
Okay. Celebrate my mother's 90th birthday, and Arthur and Dina and Merle and I extend the heartiest welcome to everybody, and we're pleased that you can share this date with us. I also, before we get into the festivities, want everybody to think about the people who unfortunately are not here tonight. Mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and husbands and wives and children who are not here, and we miss them as well. We're here to celebrate my mother's birthday, her life, her strength, her vitality, her energy, and everything that makes her who she is. Commitment to family. And speaking of commitment to family, there were sort of two incidents that I recall that occurred 40, 45 years ago, or really half a lifetime ago, that talk about her commitment to family. People think of drug addiction as a new problem, but when I was a kid, my father's drugstore was held up twice by drug addicts. And in both occasions, which occurred about a week apart, with rainy nights, and the perpetrator went into the phone booth in the store until the last customer left, and then came out of the phone booth and held up the store for a Demerol. And so my mother, after the second one, said, hey, wait a minute, there's something going on here, and they're hiding in the phone booth. So she called up the phone company the next morning and said, would you please remove the phone booth? And it was a big old oak phone booth like you used to have in old drugstores. And they said, okay, we'll be there a week from Wednesday. And she said, well, you don't understand, it has to be removed immediately. And they said, no, it's not possible. So she called up the president of the phone company, who said, not possible. And she said, well, you have two choices. You can come in 2 hours and remove the phone booth, or you can come in 4 hours and remove the splinters from the sidewalk. We really don't care. So they came and removed the phone booth. So it's that kind of basic commitment to taking care of the family. A few years later, when I was in college, taking the train back, Josh, not the plane or the car, after a Thanksgiving holiday, a lot of kids went to the station to go to Boston to change trains to go to Maine. And it was Sunday night, I guess, of Thanksgiving, or Sunday morning, and the trains were absolutely jammed, and the prince had a stand. So my mother went and conducted the first known sit-in in America, and sat in the station master's office until another car was added in Hartford, so the prince wouldn't have to stand. So we have commitment to family going back a very long time. And we're pleased that you're all here to celebrate this wonderful day. And we love our mother very much, and we're very happy that it's her 90th birthday. And I would like to pass the microphone over to anybody who would like.
They were both small and I guess a little feisty and full of energy. But I wanted to share with you a very extraordinary experience that I had when I first met Esther. Some of you may or may not know that Frances Westerman Collins, who is my cousin now, was one of my oldest friends in New York. And a number of years ago, in what I call my former life, Frances asked a number of young women, friends of hers, over for lunch, and she had her Aunt Esther, whom I had heard her speak of many times. And I stayed afterwards with Frances to help her wash up. And I said, "Your Aunt Esther is so wonderful. She must be the most wonderful mother-in-law." And I must say, who would have ever dreamed that I would be lucky enough to have her be my mother-in-law?
And I would like to summarize about 26 years living with my mother-in-law across the street. Well, my husband always likes to compare me to different people, and I would like to compare her no less but to Queen Esther from the Bible. If you don't know the story about Queen Esther, I'm really encouraging you to read it. This is one of the latest books that went into the Bible. It talks about a very unique individual, energetic, smart, family-oriented, a person that cared about her family and about her people. And that's the way I see her. Energetic, unique, caring, a mother. And I was blessed. I really would like that we should all sing the song My Yiddish Mami to Esther.
While Esther's getting all these encomiums, well deserved, I'd like to say something about Will, her husband.
Hooray!
Whom everybody loved from the beginning. When they sold the drugstore, and one day I was walking in City Island, I looked in the window with Carol, and there were these drugstore glasses. I said to Carol, if they're for sale, buy me one of these drugstore glasses. But no, they had belonged to Will's drugstore, and when he sold his drugstore, he would not let Esther take a single glass because he had sold the drugstore. That's how honorable her husband was. It was a wonderful marriage.
Thank you.
Well, I have to add a P.S. to Barry's story. When Barry was in the Air Force, he used to call up collect. Well, he called up collect unless I answered the phone. And one day my mother came home and she said, were there any calls? I said, well, there was a call from Kansas. She said, who was it? I said, your son. She said, what did he say? I said, I don't know. I'm not authorized to accept collect calls. Unfortunately, she used to run to call him back at the most expensive time, so in the end, we didn't save anything. Another time, Barry used to fly in on Air Force flights, and whenever he would come in, he would then come in the middle of the night. And so I remember once he rang the doorbell and then at 2 a.m. and everybody was sleeping, so nobody heard him. Of course, he didn't have a key, naturally. So he had to go to the neighborhood bar and call us. Anyway, the story also, apropos of Barry's story about the phone booth, it seems to me I remember that the phone booth was dismantled because the phone company didn't come and they had to pick it up from the sidewalk. But anyway, I do remember a story once where my father used to sign promissory notes for people without giving it a second thought. And one day someone came in, the person for whom he had signed the promissory note didn't pay his debt, and so the collector came to take merchandise from the pharmacy because... you want to bring this in now first? Sorry. No, go ahead. All right, go ahead. Bring it in first. Shall we sing happy birthday now? Yes. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Esther. Happy birthday to you. Okay, very good.
Okay.
I'm sorry, continue on. You will serve cake. Oh.
Anyway, the story I wanted to tell, so my father had co-signed a promissory note for someone. The guy didn't pay his debt. The person to whom was owed the money came to take merchandise from the pharmacy. And of course, my father said, go ahead. My mother picked up a bottle and said, if you take one thing, I'll break the bottle right over your head. And the guy ran out of the pharmacy. We never saw him again. Sure, it's true. I don't write fiction. Do you know how much we saved because I didn't accept collect calls from Barry? 4 years of college, 2 years of graduate school, 3 years in the Air Force, he was calling collect. I never accepted one collect call. We paid the tuition by my not accepting collect calls. Okay, who else wishes to speak?
Yes, I still call collect.
I don't want to get too maudlin, but Esther has really been like a mother to me, as most people realize, and we've been very, very close. And I just wanted to reminisce a little bit. I just mentioned that I remember the drugstore, the ice cream, when they had the counter. No,
the ice cream soda fountain.
Right, the fountain where I could have as much ice cream as I wanted, and I was in seventh heaven for all those years that they had it, and I was the one who was crushed the most when they decided not to serve ice cream anymore. And Gaines just said it might have been Bill. So, it might have, but I don't know. He ran me a second. But I just wanted to recount that we have always been so close, and she means so much to me, and that we are part and parcel of her extended family, and she's been like a grandmother to my children, and she's the most wonderful person, and we still run around and do a lot of things together. So, there.
Hi, I'm Francis's son.
What's your name?
And I would like to
What's your name?
recall a typical Friday evening dinner, what we ate. I think that Esther must have started cooking the week before on Friday to prepare for the next Friday, and went on a cycle like that indefinitely. For the we had this wonderful health salad that she'd made with cucumbers and cabbage, carrots, and that other stuff, celery. And coleslaw and potato salad, and there would be salami and hot dogs, kosher, like Hebrew National hot dogs, and a brisket, and a roast beef, and a whole chicken, and chopped liver that she would make all day. And then for dessert we would have pies, and rugula, and chocolate cake, and it would just go on and on. And I'm surprised that I didn't have to like be floated back down the Hudson River to get home every night from one of those fests, and that's what I really remember, going back to their old place, and then on Riverdale, these immense feasts that would last for hours, and where every weekend I was introduced to the entire opus of Jewish cooking, and so that I'm very appreciative of that, and I'm very pleased. No. Look at me. What did you expect to see?
They were a great part of my childhood, so I just wrote a poem about that. And I remember the tingling excitement as we entered through the store. A vast cavernous mystery of strange and colorful bottles, soap shaped like ducks and bunnies, atomizers that squeezed exotic scents into the air. And the most mysterious was the back room, where Esther and Will mixed the powders and pills, adding cherry and raspberry to our bitter medicines. Esther, pharmacist, druggist, chemist, words that applied to no other woman I knew, held court at the big table, telling shapely stories with dialogue, characters, plot, narrative, punctuated by laughter, raucous laughter, that brought tears to the eye. I remember the warmth enveloping the table, the extended family of brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, in-laws, all in the house of Esther. The eating, drinking, talking, mixing up the then and now, formulating the chemistry of my dreams.
Esther and my mother were first cousins, and so I've certainly known her a long time. I don't know what that makes me, but Esther is, excuse me, when I was quite young, my mother was very sick, and one time, I can't remember exactly how long ago it was or how old I was, but I stayed with Esther and Will and Barry and Arthur in the apartment over the drugstore, and I have the same memories that Carol has of the cavernous back room there and the potions that Will made when I was sick with the raspberry. But the other things I remember really are snippets of little things, and one was, I think, the first air-conditioned room I'd ever been in my life in that apartment, with this television set, which I think was the first one I ever saw, with this huge mirror. Oh, this was long before color. Magnifying glass in front of it, because the screen was probably about 4 inches large or something. And I also remember watching Milton Berle on that television set with the Texaco Star Theater, and I remember looking out the window and there was a Texaco service station across the street. And it had a big star and a T in the middle, and I was just so impressed that there on television were the men from the service station across the street coming out and singing and doing all that kind of stuff. But really, Esther was an extremely important person in my life at that time, and still very, very much is. And it's just wonderful to be here and enjoy being here with you. Thanks a lot.
It's quite obvious to everyone. We're weaving a history of a woman who's very, very much loved. From the very beginning of my times, Cousin Esther has been an integral part of my life. I didn't know they were going to be so well photographed here, but as a baby, Cousin Esther was part of my life. We all have joyous memories of drugstores and family times together. I'm not going to go into those. But let me tell you some of the reasons that I think Cousin Esther is a very, very special lady. For years, when dear Rosie, her wonderful relative and friend, my mother, was changing, Cousin Esther, in all the times that I knew she was upset, never said one not nice thing about the changes that were obvious in Mother. She made light of it, she minimized it, and she was just superb. It wasn't until the last time I saw her, which was at something like 10 o'clock at night. I was going to be in Riverdale, and I called late, and I said, Cousin Esther, I'm going to be in the neighborhood, can you see me? Now, Cousin Esther is no longer 20 and 30, and she said, Arlene, I'm undressed, I'm ready to get into bed, but of course I'm going to see you. And there she was at 20 to 10, downstairs, all ready to go off, and it was the first time that in front of me I saw her shed a tear about a very, very dear friend of hers and relative, my mother. She and Cousin Will were so much a part of everything that has ever been important to us. She has been at every occasion that was a family occasion. She would come to our home. My children talk of the evenings when she, Cousin Will, and my mother and father would babysit. And we would just, my husband and I, would take off. She will call us every time she comes back from Florida. There aren't lots of people who at the age of 90 are not demanding. Cousin Esther is not. She really always, no, she's not like 90, you're right. She always wants to know about everyone, and I think one of the things that our family is most impressed with, it's really our pleasure if we can pick her up and take her somewhere, because we really love this woman, and she will always sit in the car and never say one not nice thing about anyone. We will ask questions, and she will never reveal inappropriate things. She's just a very big treasure, and we are so fortunate to all have her as part of our lives.
Well, one Westerman boy has already spoken, but now you're going to get two. I'm the middle son, Roger. What I like about Esther and what I remember about Will is that when I'm talking with Esther and we're just sitting down and we haven't seen each other for a few months, and we're sitting on the couch together and just shooting the breeze, or she's asking me about what I'm doing, and we're discussing my career and or what my aspirations or what's happening in my life, and this is what I remember going back to childhood and going there for dinner, and is that when you're talking with someone from another generation, very often they're somewhat pedantic and they want to be instructional, same thing. But I would say that I have no feeling of that whatsoever when I'm talking with my Aunt Esther, and I have no feeling like that at all with Will. It was always a pleasure to go there. I wasn't scared about visiting the older relatives. And right now, if you can't say this about every relative you have, and if Esther, if her soul was in the body of a 32-year-old man, I'd certainly be friends with him. It wouldn't cross my mind. And so when I see her, I'm married, exactly. I could be. So I just it's just the nicest feeling that I feel no generational gap at all. We're in the same intellectual and emotional plane, and I think that's fantastic. And And I'm not good at praising people, but I hope this will do. And I love you very much, and thank you.
Hi, I'm Ruthie, and I'm Esther's oldest granddaughter, and only granddaughter. My father always told me that the women from his side of the family were always very bold women, always knew what they wanted and always went for it. And it started with my grandfather's mother, who ran away from Russia at the age of like 13 or 14, and it went on and on. And and I just remember when we were looking through all the boxes of all the pictures that Grandma had in her closet for the pictures that were put on the boards today, we heard a lot of stories that they can't all be told today, but I didn't put them all back. I'm sorry. Grandma told me a story about, which really told me how strong of a woman she was, because when she lived on Morris Park Avenue and she had the pharmacy with Grandpa, she told me that she was able to train the entire community to work by her hours. Now, this is coming from a pharmacist who was one of 13 women and 300 men in her graduating class. And she told me that at first the pharmacy used to be open for 7 days a week. And then she told my grandfather she couldn't do it anymore, enough's enough. And Sunday they closed early. And she said a lot of people in the community were very angry about that. But she said they used to, before they went to church on Sunday, they used to drop off their prescriptions and they liked to pick it up on the way home. So Grandma said she deserved a day of rest also. So she trained the community that they were not going to bring in their prescriptions Sunday before church. They were going to drop them off Saturday and pick them up on Monday. And she said at first they were very angry, but at the end she was able to get the entire community to do that. And I think for one woman to do all that says a lot.
Change the hours of the church also.
So Grandma, I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. And we'll see you at your 95th birthday.
Hello, I'm Josh, and I guess I'm the eldest grandson. And well, as far back as I can remember, there's only one person in my life who has always shown as much care, as much kindness, as much ability to listen to me, and always willing to feed me. And one person who's been the epitome of what a grandmother should be. And I just wanted to say thank you for being my grandmother. I love you very much.
I want to share one last anecdote, which I think is what gives Esther the youth and vitality that she possesses today. Will died how many years ago? Almost 9 years ago, so she was 81 years old. And the Thanksgiving after Will died, she took the Riverdale bus down to Macy's and applied for a job as Christmas temporary help, and absolutely was flabbergasted when they didn't hire her. And you know what? She was right. She has more energy than most of us put together, and that's why she's as young and youthful as she is today. And beautiful for sure. So happy birthday, Esther.
And then my father always said, don't eat and we'll save money. So, so I don't eat. So I tell my mother hunger strike. But my grandma's like, she's really strong. Just like when my mom said in Atlantic City, she was telling everyone, let's go, let's go, let's go. Right? And happy birthday, Grandma, and stay healthy.
Customer at the ice cream fountain stand, and I said no, maybe Bill was. I was married to Bill Gaines, and one of his favorite reminiscences of childhood was going to the fountain and making cherry malteds. And he loved them, and he always wondered how he didn't single-handedly put Will and Esther out of business, because he ate so many cherry malteds. And Esther was one of Bill's favorite people, and she's one of mine too. Happy birthday.
It's a pleasure to see everybody here today. And I hope everyone is enjoying listening to all these things. I'm surely enjoying it. And they're all true. Thanks very much for coming. And come back on the 95th.
Thank you very much. I think the cake, well, those of us who have champagne, let's raise our spinning. That's the camera over there.
I see the tape is spinning.
So, can you pick up the voices okay, Ken?
Yes, that's why I moved a little closer. You're
Okay.
fine. You seem to be
So,
fine.
let's see, should we ask questions?
Yeah, ask questions.
Why don't you tell a couple of the stories from your childhood when your father had a horse and buggy?
Oh, yes, all right.
Speak up loudly to the camera.
Are you taking, you ready?
Yeah, it's September 7th, 1994, and we're ready to go.
Okay. No, it wasn't 94. This is 94, but this was, I might have been 10, 14 years old, 12, 14 years old. My father had a horse and buggy, and the buggy was for Sunday, for the family to go out, and during the week my father delivered paint in the truck. And one day it was very hot, it was a hot weekday, and he decided the family should go to Orchard Beach. And the driver who was driving this was taking us to Orchard Beach. We went to Orchard Beach and swimming, and they unharnessed the horse. And it was very hot, and the driver decided if we're hot, the horse must be hot. And he took the horse into the water. And the horse got frightened, and he ran out, and then he ran away, and the whole family were chasing the horse. And they caught him. There's a little bridge between Pelham Bay Park and Orchard Beach, and the police saw the horse running down the aisle, and the half a dozen people after him, and they put a big, I don't know what they put in front, a couple of cars, and they stopped him, and that's the way. Otherwise, I think the horse would have run back home without us.
And how did your father get the Torah in the house?
How did he get the what?
Didn't he have his own Torah?
Oh, yes.
And how did he get that?
Well, there was a shul on 145th Street in local St. Anne's Avenue, and the shul went bankrupt. They couldn't afford to keep it open, and they didn't know what to do with the Torah. So my father took it home, and every Saturday we'd have a minyan, and have men come, men and women come, say prayer, and my mother would bake and cook, have all these goodies, and I'd say, Mama, they're only coming to eat the goodies, but tachtel, frier darf man davnen or nacheres. So that was her.
What does that mean?
It's coming for the food, not for praying.
Yeah.
You have to pray first and then eat. It was an Orthodox minyan?
Yeah, strictly Orthodox.
Very?
And how did you meet William?
I met him the first time. His uncle had a pharmacy on 150th or 151st in Cortland Avenue, and we had the paint store half a block away. My mother sent me up there to buy something, I don't know what, and his uncle
Was this a set-up deal so you would meet him?
No.
What year was this, Esther? What year was this we're talking about?
28.
1928, okay.
And
Sidney Ginsburg. He was a Ginsburg, not the same Ginsburg, but two sisters married different Ginsburgs, and introduced me, and that was it. That summer, my parents had a bungalow in Orchard Beach, and I saw Daddy or Grandpa sitting on the ocean, on the beach reading, and I recognized him, went over and said hello, and from that day on we started dating.
Actually, you had a place in the Hamptons. It wasn't Orchard Beach, it was the Hamptons. Let's get the story correct. You don't have to, you're not running for office. It was in the Hamptons. Your parents rented a big, huge house for the summer.
This was a huge house without
Well,
water.
you heard the horse, the
Without
buggy had a
water.
driver. You heard that, Arthur.
Yeah.
They didn't do it
Well,
themselves.
they had a driver because they had to deliver the paint, and the paints were 100 pounds.
So didn't this guy get Saturday off? He worked
This is a
delivering
week
6
thing.
days, and Sundays he took you to the beach?
I guess he goes off during the week. I don't know when he was off.
We worked 7 days and was lucky he had a
I
job.
wasn't interested in those days when the man worked and when he didn't work. But this was during the week that he took us. My father didn't take us, but the man took us. My father wouldn't have taken the horse into the water anyway for a swim.
We would have had him sublet him for the afternoon.
And once the horse would never want to go past and make a right turn unless he was going to the stable. If he wanted to go anyplace else, he had to go on another street, because if he came to that street where the stable was, the horse would not go any other way but turn that way. So he recognized it. How, I don't know. I didn't know they were that intelligent.
This is just the reason I got rid of my horse. The horse and the airplane, nothing but headaches.
And when you went to pharmacy school, was that very difficult? Was there a lot of prejudice and difficulty?
No prejudice, no prejudice at all. We were 13 women and 300 men.
Right.
Yeah.
13 quiet women.
Quiet.
13 quiet, shy, timid women.
But we went to school not for a few hours a day, but we started 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night. An hour for lunch, of course. I guess an hour, I don't remember now how much time, but I think it was an hour. But we went 3 days a week. But all those hours in one day.
So how many years?
2.
For 2 years?
And the time when the horse pulled out of the saddle somehow and ran away on Colton Avenue, and my father's chasing him, and everybody stopped traffic and all the police. They caught him somehow. Then my mother put her foot down and said, "You got to get rid of the horse."
Did you? Did you get rid of it?
So when did you get the first car? What happened with when you got rid of the horse?
We got a car where the front seat was stationary, and you could attach a truck to it for deliveries and take the truck off and attach another seat. So it had 2 rows of seats. And that's the way we lived. Yeah. When we used it, we had the seats, and when we used it for trucking, he pulled out the back seats and attached it. I don't see that anymore. I haven't seen that in years.
Put it in the back.
Okay, just that. I heard my father tell me a story once. When Barry graduated high school, they got him a car. So I just want to know what happened to that car.
Is that what happened to the car?
I did not have a car in college.
No, I know my father got you a car like when you graduated high school.
No.
Graduated college.
I graduated from
When
college.
Barry graduated college, I got him as a graduation present 1 Brooks Brothers suit and gave him 1 car.
What year?
The car I had at that time.
Whatever happened to that car?
Whatever happened
It lasted a couple of years. No, actually, that's not when you gave me the car.
I gave you the car in '63, I think.
Gotcha. You gave me the car. No, actually, when I went into the Air Force, I bought my own car. And then I turned that car over in an accident and totaled it. And when I went to Cornell, you gave me your car. And then I went to Cornell in '63, and your car was either 49 or 53.
It may have been 53. I think it was 53. That's right.
And then when I left
in
Cornell,
mint condition. Mint
it
condition.
would only start if you parked it on a hill, which is very good because Ithaca was very hilly.
So there's no problem.
You could always park it and start it. And I
There's
sold
no
it
problem.
when I left for $40.
You gave it away.
You gave him away that car?
I know I sold it for $40 for fair market value.
Why didn't you keep using it?
I guess I wanted a car that I could park on a trailer. That would start.
And the suit? Did you sell the suit too?
I don't have any good recollection of what I
Where's that suit anyway?
I probably outgrew it.
Everything I gave you sell and turn into cash.
So why didn't you give it to Josh? Just like Josh gave Mike to Ron and Ron gave it to me. So late 60s, guys. That's from Ginsburg to Ginsburg to Ginsburg.
That's right.
Is that true?
You know the green one? Yeah.
God, I forgot about that.
It's a late 60s bike.
I just now get away some of your shirts.
Yeah, well, clothes I know.
That's right, Josh. As the oldest grandson, he passed a lot of clothing over.
No, clothes I know, but I didn't remember the bicycle.
Actually, Dina, didn't you sell it?
Oh yeah, and I also remember the bar mitzvah suit I wore Ron's bar mitzvah. That suit was yours, then Ron's, and then mine.
Wow.
See,
And
Ruthie
then
was
whatever
lucky.
happened to it? I used to like that too.
Right. Dina, I'm going to get the car now.
You know how? Josh,
We'll
from
be
what year was
outside
that
in
bike
6
from?
minutes.
Barry, can we do
What?
something
What year
else?
did you get it?
Not in 1969, I'll tell you that.
Barry,
I know
will
it's
you see they're
only
outside in 6
Are you
minutes?
sure about that?
That's
What's the rush, Arthur? It's
No, because
10
Ruthie
o'clock.
has to leave tomorrow. No, 10 after 10.